Hey everybody, Attorney David Crum here. I am really happy to have you here with me today because we're going to talk about, I'm going to show you some cool stuff about strategic and tactical planning, how our law firms and marketing agency all stay on the same page and pulling in the same direction, and the actual tools and process that we use to execute our planning. So I am the CEO of U.S. Legal Marketing Group. That is a national legal marketing services agency. I am also the CEO of U.S. Legal Groups, which is a large national law firm that practices in divorce and family law, estate planning, and criminal defense. Now, those law firms we have, we're in 4 states, 7 locations. I think we have about 110 employees. So planning and organization is actually a huge thing, and a lot of our clients have questions about how we do this. So I thought I would just take an opportunity to run you through this, show you how we do it at least, what the categories of planning are, and how that works. So you can see that I'm sitting here at Trello.com. Just for the planning aspects of our law firms, I prefer Trello. So let's take a look at it. I picked this because I like the look and feel of it, and I like the way that you can track responsibilities and have a place to centralize information. So centralizing your information is the first part of this. The second part is to have your leadership team on what I call a rhythm of communication. So this is a predictable meeting that you're going to have every week, every 2 weeks. Our executive board, our executive team meets every week on Monday morning to get ready for the week. And I have actually found that having that standing meeting cuts down dramatically on the number of communications I have to have outside of that meeting. Because we have different locations, the location managers meet with us every 2 weeks. So everybody that's in a leadership or management position is on a predictable rhythm of communication. So let's take a look at Trello, why I like it, what the categories are. I'll take you through these categories. I've changed my strategy of leadership a lot in the last couple of years. I used to boil everything down to just one page, 6 categories that applied to law firms. I realized that there's a lot more categories that at least need to be listed and visible, even though you might not talk about them every meeting or just once a quarter or even less. You still should have these on your planning document so you don't miss anything. So let's take a quick look at these categories. Strategic planning is a pretty obvious category. That's where the firm does all of the long-range planning and some of the short-term planning. This, deals with expansion, our verticals, office space, all of that kind of stuff. Operations is simply something that I call to identify everything that basically happens that has a process at the firm. So your intake process, your office opening and closing process. All of those operations are here. And then when you see a hole in that, that's when you address it with your team. So you can see, and I've cut some of the cards out of here just for privacy's sake. But one of the things that we have in our operations is we understood that we needed to do a better job of defining the scope of responsibilities for our managing attorneys. So that's something that's top of mind for us in our planning process. Finances and total rewards. Finances is all of your pay, your salaries, and all of your benefits. That's organized under this card. Now, let me show you why I like Trello so much. So one of the things that our firm was doing was changing our 401k. You could see we have a card for that. The nice thing about that is the people that are working on it can get updates, again, that are visible to the entire team. You can have attachments. You can have due dates, checklists. You can label these things, and you can assign them. So that's why I find Trello to be such a powerful tool, and you can spend your own time figuring out how to use that. In our firm's human resources have its own category. We switched over our health insurance plans this year, which was a huge project. Trello helped us keep track of that. The other categories that we've identified, talent management, I think this is so important. This is where you're trying to kind of systematize all of your efforts to recruit and maintain talent. So here's where you would have your typical ads that you run for your support team or attorneys or anybody else you're recruiting for. And so this is a very, very important category, not only to recruit, but to keep, you have ideas to keep your talent engaged and keep them on your team. Delivery of services and client relations, that's simply your workflow. How are cases flowing through your practice? What are the things that you need to do to not only be at the highest level of practice, but to keep your clients happy? You can see one of the tasks we had was looking at the implementation of Clio Draft. We use Clio. Draft is a new AI component that helps you with document assembly. So that's one of the major things we're working on in client services. Marketing and public relations is obviously a big one. We spend less time talking about that at the firm just because we have our own marketing agency, and that's where most of the planning is done for the law firms. Tech and innovation, something that you should be paying attention to, at least on a quarterly basis. One of the things that we've done is to develop our own intranet. This has been a huge thing so that we have complete organization of all the documents, checklists, and other things that we need. Culture and DEI is still important to us, regardless of what's going on a national level. Our HR department, along with our directors at the local firms, are very keyed into the culture that we want to have in the firm, and so we talk about that on a fairly regular basis. Diversity is still very important to us. And one of the big things that our firm does as it relates to diversity is just going out into the communities to recruit attorneys and support staff that normally might not apply to our firm. So we don't have a lot of people of color typically applying at our firms. We found that if we want those people on our team, and I do think it's important to have a lot of diversity, or as much diversity as is reasonable on your team, that you've got to go into those communities, let them know that you're there and that you're willing to look at them as candidates and you're interested in having them come and work for your office. Risk management and compliance, don't spend a lot of time in this area, but it's on here. We have a general counsel who pays attention to these sorts of things, but it's always worth going down the list on that. Now, our firm is a little bit different from other firms because we focus a lot on succession planning and developing our leaders. Our goal is to sell our firms ultimately to the very people that are working for us. So we have succession is a very big thing that we focus on. Obviously, you can't ignore facilities and office strategy. This just seems like something we are constantly dealing with. That's having the right amount of office space for the growth plans that we have and the staff that we have. And the final thing that we have is community engagement and pro bono initiatives. I think it is very important to stay involved in your community, certainly, and when you can, engage in pro bono initiatives. Our firm is a divorce and family law practice, focus much of our pro bono into cases involving domestic violence or cases where there's just not a lot of money, but they're very serious custody issues. All right, guys, well, that's a quick sort of informal look at our planning process and the categories that we use. So hopefully you can take at least some of this away and apply it to your practice, and it'll improve your planning and your efficiency just a little bit. All right, thanks for joining me. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, make sure to sign up, and I'll see you guys in the next video.